You'll probably remember Representative Madison Cawthorn, who just got completely out of the blue, trounced, smushed, attacked. I don't know why I do that sometimes, by the Republican establishment, it seemed. All of a sudden, things were going fine. And then he had that weird, statement about there being orgies within Congress. And all of a sudden, things turned on him and he lost his Republican primary. This footage came out about him. And it's a little bit sad because so much of Madison Cawthorn is horrible, is absolutely bad. His policy positions, the few that he even is able to articulate, are horrible. His rhetoric is dangerous, all that type of stuff. But the thing that took him down was a video of him, presumably doing like sexual stuff with a guy. And that, is what took him down, because the idea of your representative, could he be gay, is too much for these Republican voters. And that's really what took him down, likely. And that's really, really sad, because you wish it was the bad views that he had that really did. But there's a little bit of an explanation to this about why there was this effort all of a sudden and who was a part of it. And it looks like Kevin McCarthy and people around him, donors associated with him, etc., did a very explicit and, intentional effort and plan to take down Madison Cawthorn as a part of a larger plan to weed out some of these people that they feel pose a threat to their leadership and to the stability of the Republican Party. So a piece was revealed breaking this from the Washington Post that we'll take a look at here, how Kevin McCarthy's political machine worked to sway the GOP field. Representative Madison Cawthorn made a name for himself as a firebrand social media phenomenon who delighted in trolling the left, famously boasting to colleagues that he had built his House office by focusing on communications, not legislation, which is absolutely what many of these new MAGA Republicans focus on. It's all about the memeing, it's all about the tweets, it's all about the communications, not about the actual policy. But the strategy made him vulnerable to forces within his own party that helped end his time in office. Top allies of Kevin McCarthy, the House Republican leader, worked this spring to deny Cawthorn a second term in office after the Donald Trump endorsed lawmaker made controversial comments about cocaine use and sex parties in Washington that led McCarthy to announce he had lost my trust, according to multiple Republicans briefed on the effort, which has not been previously reported. So we're going to get to the part of him actually making this happen, Kevin McCarthy and the people around him. But it's so funny that of all the things Madison Cawthorn did, it was him going on a podcast and saying, listen, there's some sexual perversion in Washington. I went to this one thing, or I didn't go to, but I saw someone doing cocaine, and I was invited to an orgy, was the story he gave. And the funny thing is, their aggressive reaction to this is either because they don't like that he told a lie about them, or there are some cocaine orgies going on, right? Continuing on, GOP lobbyist Jeff Miller, one of McCarthy's closest friends and biggest fundraisers, and Brian O. Walsh, a Republican strategist who works for multiple McCarthy-backed groups, were both involved in an independent effort to oppose Cawthorn as part of a broader project to create a more functioning GOP caucus next year, said the Republicans, who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity, blah, blah, blah. Of course, targeting Cawthorn was part of a larger behind-the-scenes, this is what gets so interesting, effort by top GOP donors and senior strategists to purge the influence of Republican factions that seek disruption and grandstanding, often at the expense of their GOP colleagues. So we'll read just a little bit more, but to take a quick pause, it's so interesting that it's not so much the anti-democratic stuff, not so much the dangerous rhetoric, especially Madison Cawthorn has made, encouraging or promoting violence. It's the fact that they kind of just make too much noise, right? It's the fact that they disrupt and grandstand, as it says there. And Kevin McCarthy doesn't like the idea of having people he can't control. Continuing on just a little bit more, the political machine around McCarthy has spent millions of dollars this year in a sometimes secretive effort to systematically weed out GOP candidates who could either cause McCarthy trouble if he becomes House Speaker or jeopardize GOP victories in districts where a more moderate candidate might have a better chance at winning. Wow. So you see there someone like McCarthy, who wants to pretend that he's just as crazy and pro-Trump as the rest of them, is actually taking part in a pretty, exerted effort to take down people like Madison Cawthorn. And it makes you wonder, who else is he going to try to go for? Because it seemed like Lauren Boebert was another one of those who was kind of making the establishment type people upset with her inability to go along with some of the kind of dogma, but at the same time, not as popular or as kind of successful at fundraising as Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I don't think they're going to really attempt, unfortunately, to take down Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's just too popular among the right wing. But Lauren Boebert seems like someone else who could fall into that category of being a Kevin McCarthy enemy, secretly. And so it'll be super fascinating to see some of these Republicans start dropping off, and it may be at the hands of these same individuals, McCarthy being one of them. And I hope to see it. And it's fascinating that this is happening because McCarthy, again, likes to brand himself as kind of just as radical as these people. He tried to be reasonable for a second. It didn't work out for him right after the 2020 election. And so then he went, kissed the butt of Donald Trump, and has, stuck to that ever since. And he's gotten a lot of heat for that. But I do think the idea of having a bunch of these individuals like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Madison Cawthorn, etc., is scary to someone who wants to be the Speaker of the House, who wants to be able to control his caucus, because they're not super controllable, even though I'm sure they all agree on radical policies.